right, so welcome, folks. We're going to let folks trickle in. I know there's always a bit of confusion on the first day that we meet, first day of school. So we'll do introductions in a moment, but I want to first just welcome you to our first ECHO presentation of this school-based ECHO series for the year. We're going to be talking today about internalizing disorders. I want to share some announcements. So we have rebranded. We used to be called the CAP Portal Program, Child and Adolescent Psychiatry Portal Program. We are now CalMAP, the California Child and Adolescent Mental Health Access Portal. We're very excited about this change and statewide expansion. We have a new website as of Monday, so it's been a big week for us here at CalMAP. Our flagship service that we offer is direct consultation. And so you are welcome to give us a call or fill out a consult request online on our website, and we would love to connect you with a member of our team. And finally, we have a monthly webinar series, and one of the ways in which folks can access that is through on-demand recordings. And through that, folks can also get CME credit. And so we encourage you to take advantage of that resource. This is some information about our funding sources. We are supported by several grants as well as state funding, and we are grateful to our supporters. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Evan for a moment.
Thanks, Lindsay. Hey, everybody. My name's Evan. I'm a clinical psychologist here with the CalMAP team. And since it's our first day, would love to learn more about who's here and to share kind of what you're excited about. So I would ask if everybody could consider, if you're able to turn your camera on. I see some coming on. That's awesome. That really helps kind of facilitate everybody getting to know each other, and we love to see your faces too. So I'll start, and then maybe we can popcorn around to others. So as I said, my name's Evan, clinical psychologist. I use he, him pronouns. And I'm really excited to learn from y'all as the experts about what you're working on this year, and any challenges or successes that you're learning, so you can help inform us. All right, I'm going to pass it to Mary.
Hi, good afternoon. Name is Mary Jew, and I participated last year and really enjoyed it. So I'm glad to be back. I am a school nurse and currently am not actively practicing, but I am coordinating a school nurse program at San Francisco State. So I am facilitating conversations, and I have referred many of my students to join this forum. Yeah, I'm really just interested in hearing what's the latest and the greatest and the role school nurses can play.
Awesome. Welcome back, Mary. Who would you like to pass it to?
Joan.
Yeah, my name is Joanne Jung, and I'm a general pediatrician here at UCSF. I also help to organize some of the CalMAP activities. Pronouns are she and her. Something I'm excited to learn about this year. I just want to hear about just hear from diverse perspectives that are in this group, because I live in my little pediatrician world and would love to hear more about what it's like in the school-based world. I'll go ahead and pass things along to, is it Marissa?
Yes, hi, my name's Marissa. I'm a mental health specialist. I do school-based mental health. So I work with the outside company and they contract with the school districts. And I guess something I'm excited to learn about, very similar to Joan, is just kind of like hearing different people from different fields, but how we all like come together and have like a similar need to know what's going on and like have that like basis or foundation to all work from, because I feel like it will help provide better care overall. Yeah, nice to meet you guys. I also am at work technically. This is like my last hour, but the kids aren't here, so that's why I kind of might be in and out, but I'm excited also just to see what this offers. My work offered it and I was like, why not? I know that I have the free time, so I just wanted to jump on in. But pleasure to meet everyone.
We love that. Thank you, Marissa. Who's next? Oh, sorry, I guess Marissa's in and out. Barbara.
Hi, I'm Barbara, also a mental health specialist with Wellness Together, and I'm most excited to hear. So I'm working with elementary, but I'm used to working with older adolescents, high school. So how to have these conversations with younger folks, especially if they're more concrete thinkers with younger kids thinking first grade, and how to support kiddos, and as well as how to have these conversations with their parents. I will pass it to Evan. Wait, or sorry,
Oh,
my Zoom's a little wonky, or I guess like, should I do someone else? I can't see everyone.
yeah, no worries. How about Jen?
I think you said Jen. Yeah, hi, my name's Jen Kennybaum. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a wellness coordinator in Marin County at two alternative high schools. One is San Andreas High School and the other is Temescal High School. And I'm excited to join in, honestly, just connect with other school-based professionals. I feel like I've been doing this work for a little while, but man, I'm hungry to like just be learning and just keep growing. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm excited to learn, but just for the learning piece.
Lovely. Sounds like you're in the right place.
Thanks.
Is Stephanie?
Hello. I missed the very initial questions that you're asking. Oh, they're on the screen. So my name is Stephanie, pronouns she, her. I am a student social worker interning with Oakland Unified School District at Madison Park Academy. And I'm just excited to see like the resources we have in having these conversations and the language that we will use.
Fantastic. Thank you. Welcome. Sade? 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 Oh, now pronounced like this here. Hi, Sade. Welcome. I will let others read. All good. We're glad that you're here. Shirley.
Hi everyone, I'm Shirley, she, her pronouns. Apologies for not being on camera. I'm kind of wrangling some pets, the vet. But yeah, glad to be here. And my role is the program manager at the Stanford Center for Youth Mental Health and Wellbeing in our Department of Psychiatry. And I had the pleasure of working with a few of you on starting our ECHO and learned a lot. So happy to be here. Something I'm excited to learn about this year is just hearing from those on the ground working in different districts. What are some of the emerging needs for this school year in particular? I know every district is different, so just excited to learn more about that. Thanks.
Yay. Thank you, Shirley. Welcome back. Nice to see you. Valentina.
Hi, everyone. I'm Valentina, pronouns she, her, and I am a newcomer social worker at a middle school in Oakland. And so students who are new to the country, 3 years or less. And I'm excited. I'm similar to Jen. I'm excited to connect with everyone and just learn everything. Like specifically, I think today is anxiety and depression. So like activities or interventions, refreshers, be really good. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Valentina. And May, I think you're the last person with camera on.
Hi, I'm May Lum, the program manager for the CalMet program. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. It's so nice to see you here. I'm going to pass it back to Lindsey to jump into our didactic. Lindsey, go ahead.
Fantastic. It's really nice to meet all of you. Great to see some familiar faces and meet some new ones. Thanks so much for joining us today. And as we said at the beginning, if you can have your camera on, we love that that helps folks get to know each other. And we totally understand that everybody has competing demands. So no problem if not. So we're going to be talking about internalizing problems today. So thinking about sort of those anxiety, depressive spectrum symptoms, we're going to be talking about strategies to support folks who are coping with those symptoms. And we're going to talk a little bit specifically about how to support folks who are having school attendance problems due to these types of symptoms. So what are we talking about when we talk about internalizing symptoms? This tends to be when we sort of think about this internalizing, externalizing spectrum or dichotomy that we have. When folks may tend to externalize, they may tend to exhibit disruptive behavior. They may tend to kind of speak out. They may tend to have difficulty following directions, whereas internalizing problems we could think of as in some ways the opposite. Emotions might be over-controlled. Student might be sort of directing their problems inward. And there seem to be sort of like individual temperamental factors that influence this. So often, students can certainly exhibit both externalizing and internalizing problems, but often we see kids who might kind of tend toward internalizing and other kids who might kind of tend toward externalizing. And you all work with young people, so you can probably picture this in your mind. It's important to note that we're not necessarily talking here about an anxiety or depressive disorder. So we don't need to, somebody doesn't need to meet criteria for, say, major depressive disorder or social anxiety disorder in order for us to think about them having internalizing problems and being sort of eligible or potentially benefiting from some intervention and support in that area. Super common, so these kind of symptoms occur in about 30% of children, and they tend to sort of increase in prevalence as time goes on, as kids age. And they can continue into adulthood. What might this look like? So irritability is a big one, particularly in younger kids. Anxiety and depression may manifest as irritability. So being snappier, being kind of less resilient, less able to roll with punches. Folks may have a change in their social functioning. So maybe they had some friends that they enjoyed playing with at recess, but you're noticing them kind of being more on their own or not engaging as much. They may express feelings of feeling like a burden or feeling like nobody likes them or nobody loves them. They might have difficulty concentrating. Physical symptoms can come up a lot, and we have some school nurses here, and my guess is this is super familiar to our school nurses, that these might be kids who are kind of coming in to see you chronically, maybe complaining of sort of like headache, stomach ache, things like that. We know that those symptoms are real. Our mind-body connection is very strong, and oftentimes these problems can manifest as physical symptoms. We also might see changes in eating and sleep. Academic performance might decline. Okay. So when internalizing problems are getting in the way of what kids want or need to do, so this would be like getting their work done, hanging out with their friends, being with their family, going to family functioning. If things are happening like that, we want to intervene. Thinking about the lens that you have, for those of you who are working in school-based settings, we who sit kind of in hospital-based settings spend a lot of time and energy trying to sort of understand what things look like in the real world for the kids that we support. And often, we know that kids spend most of their time at school. And so our belief really is that you as school-based providers have a really unique window into what is happening. You can observe not only what's happening for this individual child, but sort of how that compares to other kids their age based on your wealth of experience. Okay, so I'd love if folks could put in the chat, what are some ways that internalizing problems show up in the classroom? Maybe things that you've seen or things that you could envision seeing. Relatedly, what might you be hearing or seeing from a student that might suggest they're having internalizing problems? Yeah, inability to focus and hold their attention. Change in behavior in general, quietness, angry, frustration, less participation, lack of engagement with the teacher, classmates, the curriculum, constantly feeling sick, absolutely. Chronic absenteeism, absolutely. Yes, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Attendance issues, similar, feeling physically sick, isolating. Yeah, absolutely. Great thoughts. Please keep them coming. Let me just make an adjustment here with the way my windows are arranged. So some typical things that we often see, we could think about breaking out into 3 categories: feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. So we might see some of the feelings that you all mentioned, like physical symptoms, hopelessness, helplessness. We might hear kids describe themselves in a negative way, having a lot of worries about the future or the past, difficulty with problem solving, and then the behaviors that you all referenced many of, like increased absences, seeking a lot of reassurance, you know, are you sure this is going to go okay for me? What happens if I fail the test? Is my mom going to be here to pick me up at school today? Kind of seeking a lot of reassurance in those areas. And obviously all of these things are, when they're existing once in a while, they're probably not a problem. It's sort of part of being a human. But we want to pay attention to when these things are coming up a lot or causing difficulty for kids. Okay, so you've decided that there's probably some internalizing problems happening. You're concerned about it. It seems to be getting in the way. What are your options? So we're going to talk through a couple of things that we would suggest as potential supports. So you might decide to discuss it with the student. We want to be as descriptive and non-judgmental as possible. So describing what we notice. You know, I noticed that you haven't been playing with your friends as much at recess. You're not in trouble. I just wanted to check in. How have you been doing lately? How have you been feeling? You might mention your concerns to the family. This is obviously going to depend on your relationship with the family, how available they are, kind of the appropriateness that you see here. But similarly, you're going to want to kind of be really behaviorally descriptive of exactly what it is that you've observed, which makes you concerned. So, you know, I've noticed that Evan isn't playing with his friends as much on the playground at recess, and he has seemed sort of withdrawn during some of our classroom discussions. Just wanted to check in with you. That doesn't seem like him. How do you think he's doing? What do you think could be going on? For those of you that have school counselors or maybe are school counselors in your setting, these might be appropriate reasons to refer to the school counselor and get some support in that way. And then sometimes schools will consider formal accommodations. And so this might be something like maybe a lunch bunch or a social skills group for kids who are really having difficulty engaging with their peers, or some extra help with maybe study skills or homework if they've kind of fallen behind in their assignments and need some help to catch up. One thing that we really want to note as psychologists, and probably all of you are on the same page here as well, is that sometimes accommodations can involve avoidance. So for example, extensions on homework or being excused from class. We would want those to be accompanied by a really clear plan of how the kid is going to return to regular expectations. What I often see in my practice is that the school has been really well-meaning and supportive and offered homework extensions. And then suddenly at the end of the year, like everything is piled up and this young person has hundreds of assignments to catch up on. And that can cause difficulty in of itself. So we want to really be thoughtful about how we're kind of providing a roadmap for getting kids back to regular functioning. Okay. So thinking about attendance problems, we kind of devote a separate section to this because it comes up so often. We know that anxiety and depression can both contribute to attendance difficulties. In the case of anxiety, sometimes that's related to anxiety about being in school or being in social situations at school, and staying home can serve to avoid and kind of make kids feel more comfortable. In the case of depression, sometimes kids might be having difficulty getting out of bed or feeling motivated to do the things that they usually are motivated to do, like do their schoolwork, get to school, be with their friends. Our main intervention for attendance problems is what we call a gradual exposure plan. So if the kid right now is not, maybe they haven't attended school in 3 weeks, you know, here we are in mid-September, maybe they attended the first couple of days of the school year and we haven't seen them since then, or they've been really chronically absent a couple times a week since then. We would want to work with the family to figure out what's feasible for the family. We know that some families, it might not be feasible to kind of participate in a plan like this during the school day. So we'd have to get more creative about who else can we involve in this young person's community. But assuming the parents are able to participate, we want to come up with kind of a graduated plan, the first rung of which is achievable by the kid about 70% of the time. So it might be that the family drives to the parking lot at school for a week. And then maybe next week, each day they go inside and talk with one staff member. And then we'd want to think about gradually increasing the amount of time spent at school from there, potentially starting with easier classes, if that's feasible, easier for this young person, if that's feasible. If we want to kind of, I would say, push the hierarchy as far as we can go in this moment. So if right now it's very easy for the kid to go to 30 minutes of school, but it's the whole day that's hard, I would start with the 30 minutes. I wouldn't need to start with the driving rung of the exposure ladder. And we want to think about rewards. So we're all behaviorists because we work with kids, right? And so we can think about what is going to be inherently rewarding. So if going to school is really anxiety provoking to me and it's my week to go in and talk to a teacher, what can I do afterward that's going to be reinforcing and make me more willing and likely to do that behavior in the future? So that might be earning points toward a small prize. It might be special time with parents in the evening. It might be, you know, a privilege at home, like not having to do the dishes or something like that. We want to be careful with rewards. Sometimes families can understandably really want to like go big with rewards and really make it worthwhile for their kid and like a puppy. But we want to really remind families that rewards need to be sustainable. So we want to be able to, if we give this kid a reward in 2 weeks, we want to be able to have another reinforcing reward that can be available another 2 weeks later. So usually families can't adopt a puppy every 2 weeks, for example, although that would be my absolute dream. And then importantly here, when the student is not at school, so when they're still struggling with their attendance and they're maybe home for a large portion of the day, we want to suggest to families that they make the environment as least reinforcing as possible. So there shouldn't be any fun things happening during school hours. The young person should be working on homework or chores or other things like that, because we don't want it to be more fun to be at home than at school. Okay. All right, so those are some sort of strategies that might take days or weeks to implement and work with the family around. But say you have a kid who you're caring for or working with in the classroom who is really having difficulty with internalizing problems right now. What do we do? So if the child or teen is experiencing really strong emotion, they're not going to be able to engage in problem solving because the part of their brain that they need right here, the prefrontal cortex, to engage in problem solving is basically offline because the emotional part of their brain is kind of in overdrive. So we want to help to reduce that overdrive. And we can do that by labeling emotion. That is a form of emotion regulation. So, you know, Evan, it looks like you're feeling really worried right now. And then you want to suggest a coping strategy. And I say suggest and not kind of ask them what they want to do because of that difficulty with problem solving or decision making. It's going to be really hard for a kid to kind of select one of these things. And so, you know, I might say, let's take a walk together down the hallway. And you can kind of repeat. So maybe you take a walk down the hallway and the kid is still really dysregulated. Maybe you say, all right, let's walk to the nurse's office and let's get an ice pack and let's put that on your forehead and sit and have your temperature change. That can help with emotion regulation as well. You can kind of insert any number of these coping strategies and string them together to help kids go from, you know, if they're at a 10 out of 10 on the anxiety scale, to help them go 9, 8, 7, 6, and so on into a place where their problem solving skills are more workable. There's probably other coping strategies that people like. In fact, if folks wouldn't mind putting into the chat some of their favorite coping strategies to use in a school setting, we would love that. We can add them for next year. Okay. So say they are calm enough to engage in a conversation, or you've used the directions on the prior slide or another strategy you have to get them to a place where they're able to engage in conversation. This is a 4-step script that comes from my colleague, Dr. Adele LaFrance, who developed emotion coaching family therapy, but I love it for the school setting as well. And I find it, well, anyway, I think it's really helpful. So first is that emotion identification and labeling that we talked about. So it looks like you're feeling really worried right now. And then we want to validate. It makes sense that you're feeling that way because I know you have this really big test today that you have been studying really hard for and you're worried about the outcome. Sometimes this can be enough. So sometimes we as humans just need to feel heard and understood, and it makes us feel a lot better. It can really help us to regulate our emotions. Sometimes we might go on to steps 3 and 4. So we might offer some words of support. You know, I believe in you. I know that you studied really hard in this test. I believe you can do well on it. We might offer help. You know, I know that your test is until this afternoon. It looks like you have some free time right now. Do you think it would be more helpful to take a break and give your brain a rest, or would you like to go over your flashcards together for a few minutes? That's just one example of something that you might be able to offer to help. Okay, so some tips. My guess is that you already all intuitively do many of these things because you're working out, you're well-versed in working with kids and people in general. We want to convey calm and warmth with our body and tone. If a student is really dysregulated and we're really calm, that can actually be a little bit of a mismatch. So in that case, we might want to meet them with some sort of enthusiasm that's a little bit matching their tone, like not too much, but a little bit kind of meeting them where they're at, but kind of dropping down the tenor of the tone over time. So that might look like, wow, you're feeling really angry right now. Let's see if we can work together to take a walk down the hallway to try to calm down. So I'm kind of going from here to help them come with me. Again, we don't want to ask questions to somebody who's really dysregulated because it's going to make them more dysregulated. At worst, and at best, they're just not really probably going to be able to make good decisions. So be warm and directive. Let's walk down the hallway together. We want to be careful with the phrase, I understand. Sometimes you really do understand. So for example, with test taking anxiety, like I can totally remember what it felt like to have a really stressful algebra test coming. So I might say like, you know, I totally understand what you mean. I remember being really stressed out about algebra tests. Like, let me help you with that. But if it's something that I haven't experienced, you know, maybe somebody has experienced the death of a parent recently. I have not had that experience. And so I don't want to say, I understand. I might instead say it makes sense that you're feeling sad, that you're feeling worried. We can also externalize the emotion, and that can help us as providers and as teachers, et cetera, to build empathy and reduce frustration, reduce kind of criticalness. So thinking about, you know, this young person is being really irritable in class, that's kind of making them difficult to be around, kind of reminding ourselves that it's anxiety or it's depression that's causing that irritability. It's not this young person trying to be a bad kid. And we want to reinforce engagement in activities despite anxiety, sadness, etc., and not reinforce avoidance. So an example might be like if we see a kid who has been kind of withdrawn on the playground and they make an effort to join in a game of tag, we might say to them later, I saw you playing that game of tag. Like, I think that's so awesome that you did it, even though you haven't been feeling yourself lately. Because we know that behavioral activation that comes from engaging in activities that give us enjoyment or a sense of accomplishment will help with depression and to some degree with anxiety as well, even if we kind of don't feel like our heart is fully in it. Okay, these are some resources that sometimes folks find helpful. You can access them with the QR codes here on the screen. One is sort of a set of coping skills, and the other is a skill from dialectical behavior therapy called TIP, which is a good way to reduce dysregulation really quickly. We have a handout here, and I will stop there. Thank you.